And
30.
kind of lead me up to making your decision on real estate.
Well, I was in Columbus for 33 years. I just kept moving up, moving up, went in more, did a little bit, not, administrative. I did a lot of, I just always changed careers. About every 5 to 7 years, even though it was still in Columbus, I switched
Hmm.
because I got bored. I just got bored. So I would apply or do something, or I'd be recommended to, hey, why don't you go try this program or try that? My last year there, I was a PAR consultant, which means you go out and you evaluate new teachers coming in. And there were times that I would have to recommend teachers to not be in the district anymore. And I know that it was kind of like you had to drop the hammer on them to get rid of them. And I know we weren't supposed to be the one to, um, when we non-renewed, you're not supposed to give them recommendations, or you're not supposed to, and you had to follow a specific rubric to get rid of them. But I couldn't just do that without giving them a career plan, even though you're not
Yeah.
supposed to. But I always knew that there was something else out there for them. I had to have a kindness with it. And, it's like you're not cut out to be with inner city kids, but you might be better off at, let's
Yeah.
get you resettled somewhere else. I always felt like a fixer, and you could
Yeah.
fix things. So I did that for 33 years. And then it got to the point where we got a new superintendent, and Columbus was falling apart. And when I can look back on day one of teaching in Columbus and day 33, and nothing changed,
Mm.
it was the same mess, the same problems, nothing changed. That
Yeah.
I knew that I think I could do better if I got out and did something else. I would go into people's homes, I'd go in and do visits, and they were living in poverty. They were living in transient conditions. And as I talked to parents, one of the things they always said to me was, we're getting evicted. And I would walk into these houses with bugs. And that was the biggest complaint, was they had no stability. And I thought, if I do real estate, one family at a time,
Yeah.
I can make a change.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things where, you said make a change. And when I got in, I was 22 years old, right out of college, had, I would call it fairly quick success in the sense of not the normal trajectory of a first year agent, just based off of my situation and things like that. And then we had an agent on our team join, and he's still on our team, Jared, and he's one of my best friends. And he'd always say we're changing people's lives. And back then, looking back, I took it for granted, right? I didn't believe it, until I got older and less cocky and wiser. And for me, honestly, it was, yeah, we definitely helped change our clients' lives for sure, and the power that real estate is and can provide people who are owning and selling and doing all of those things. But I really got to see the impact when we actually started growing our team
Mhm.
and seeing our agents be able to change their lives and the trajectory of their families' lives, right? By buying into the systems and going and helping buyers and sellers change the lives. So was it just you knew that real estate was going to be the next move? Or was it just a thought of like, hey, this is probably what I would want to do next?
I've always wanted to do it. I've seen teachers that I worked with try it, and they couldn't do it full time, and they put their stuff into escrow or whatever, and they just couldn't do it while they were teaching. But I kept
Hmm.
thinking, I mean, for the past, the last 5 years that I was teaching, I watched them and I listened to them, and I kept thinking, God, I wish I could quit and do it, because I've always wanted to do it. I've had friends who did it full time, and I was envious, but I knew that I couldn't stop because I carried the insurance. My husband was running a company. I had 6 kids. I had to carry insurance for these kids. They were all in college
Hmm.
at the same time. I had 4 in college at the same time. And then I had 2 little
Hmm.
ones, one that you see Chaz,
Yep.
and I just could not allow them not to have an insurance plan. And I had college that I had to be consistent. My family had to be consistent. So I had to keep going. And then after 33 years, my husband started teaching in Columbus. And I went, you got the insurance. So we had to pay double for the insurance. But I said, I don't care. I'm out. I can do
Yeah.
better on the outside. And I hit the ground running.
What
you
year
know,
was that? What year was that when you made that decision?
2019. 2019,
2019.
I had to take care of my mom because she has Alzheimer's. So we had to,
Hmm.
while I was doing classes, I was kind of taking care of her too. So I had like a 6 month lag from when I signed up until I got my license. And then it was, I took off.
And we'll dive into that here in a second. When you made that decision, to go from a career, right? I mean, 33 years. I mean, you were there
Mhm,
to now, hey, I'm going 100% commission based,
mhm.
steady income to now it's just on me. So did you have a lot of supporters? Did you have doubters? Like, kind of fill me in on what was the circle like of people around you, um,
There were
when
no
you made that
doubters.
decision.
The only doubter was me. I think I was my only doubter because I knew I was worried about my mom, who's gonna, what are we gonna do with her? My
Right.
husband is a 100. He's always been supportive. You do what you need to do. You do what you want to do. He said, pretty much whatever you do, you always do well. So just do it. And I'm like, what if I'm not successful? I was gonna call my cousin, but I didn't want to do that because I didn't want him to think I sucked. I didn't want to go straight to them and have them go, oh, she sucks. She's bad. So, I went safety. I went with one of my best friends in the business and I went with her and I was like, okay, I'm doing okay. And she was a broker at Century 21 and she was fabulous. So I went with them and they taught me the ropes and got me going and actually got me going and got me successful. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And at that point, I went crawling over to Dylan, my cousin who's 20 years old. And I said, I'm ready to work for you now, and with open arms. He's like, that's awesome. And working with having Dylan as my boss, oh, he's the best boss ever, and I was doing great. I mean, it was
Yeah.
fantastic.